Hey there, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of The Badass and the Buddha, where we are striving to develop a community where we have real and raw conversations about relevant topics that will probably affect each of us at some point in our lives. My name is Annie Fonte. I'm the Badass. My pal Alexis Williams is at a retreat this week, and so she's not here to join me. She's the Buddha. And so today's topic I wanted to share with you is a talk that I gave this past weekend at a Badass and Beautiful event here in San Diego. And the topic is being present in our lives. And so I have a question for you. Who or what do you think is the most important teacher in life? Now, when I've asked other people this, the answers have been God or Jesus or experience or failure or love or your parents, all good answers. And we're going to come back to that in a few minutes. So it was probably 8 or 9 months ago. I was doing some research for not a podcast, but a blog post that I was writing. And I was looking into how many people die in our country on a daily basis and what's the cause of death. So here's what I found out. Chronic stress is a component to the top 6 causes of death in our country. 110 million people a year, which calculates out to just a little over 300,000 people a day, die of some malady with chronic stress as a component to it. And heart conditions or heart disease is one of those top 6 killers in our country. And 1,775 people a day die of heart disease. 885 people die in our country each day of obesity. And car accidents take the lives of 102 people a day. So it's my observation that we could lessen or possibly even eliminate the causes of death that have chronic stress as a component to them if each of us were willing to live with more presence in our life. And we're going to talk more about that in a few minutes. But I'll tell you the one that got me. The one that got me was the 102 people that die in car accidents each day. Think about this. Tomorrow morning, 102 people are going to wake up somewhere in our country, and they're going to brush their teeth and wash their face and take a shower and maybe even eat breakfast. And then they're going to jump in a vehicle and they're going to go to wherever it is they're going tomorrow. And they're not going to come home tomorrow night. And as I thought about this, I thought, wow, Annie, what if, for whatever reason, you don't show back up at home tonight? How do you want the people who first find your home to feel when they walk in? What do you want them to see? And as crazy as this might sound, this changed me, you guys. I started that day thinking, okay, I'm going to leave my home in the kind of state that I would be okay with anyone finding it if for whatever reason I never showed back up here again. So what do? I make my bed. I've always made my bed. But I make the bed, I do all the dishes, make sure they're put back where they belong. I straighten up, I make sure there's no clothes lying around or that things are tidy. And I'll tell you what's really great about that. When I get home at the end of the day, it's so welcoming to walk into my house. It's tidy, it's clean, it allows me to feel great peace and ease, and it's a pleasure to be so embraced when I get home at the end of the day. And so, for the next few minutes, I want you to consider along with me that death is the most important teacher in our life. Now, how many of you have read the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer? If you have read it, pick it up again. I think you will get a lot out of it by reading again. If you've never read it, consider getting it and reading it because it's a really great book. And I'll put the information about it in the post notes today for this video. And I'm a gal who likes to tell the truth about life. And the truth is that I've had this book in my home sitting on a nightstand for the past 8 years. And throughout those years, I've picked it up a couple of times to start reading it. And for whatever reason, I wasn't connecting with the content that Singer was delivering and sharing in his book. You know, I'd get 2 or 3 paragraphs in, or maybe even 2 or 3 pages into reading, and my eyes were seeing the words on the page, but my mind was somewhere else. I was having these life-changing thoughts like, you know, I have to remember to get garbage bags at the grocery store tomorrow. Or, dang it, I forgot to make that doctor's appointment last week. Or, you know, some popcorn and a cold beer sounds really good right now. Talk about no presents. You've probably experienced the same thing. So it was probably 2 months ago. I picked the book up for the third time, and I sat down to read it. And this time, the words resonated with me. I thought, holy shit, these are some of the most amazing words to ever be introduced to a piece of paper in the history of time. And I read, and I pondered, and I highlighted as I went along. And then I got to chapter 17. Any guesses about what chapter 17 is about? You're right, it's about death. It's called Contemplating Death. And Singer suggests that there's not a person or a situation that has more to teach you about life than death. And, you know, if you think about it, we're all going to breathe our last breath at some point. And it is the wise and willing student of death that realizes that this could be any moment in time. So I say it's smart to wholeheartedly embrace that death is a reality, it's inevitable, and it's unpredictable. You never know when it's coming. So what's an example of this? Well, let's look at our own families and our loved ones. We take them for granted sometimes, and we expect them to accept us and love us and tolerate us regardless of how grumpy we are or how poorly we might have treated them in the last day or two. And then think about the conversations you have. And think about the people and the things that you choose to plug into that bring stress into your life. And then imagine this. You lay down tonight to go to sleep, and the angel of death comes and sits right next to you. And they say, guess what, Annie? Here's the deal. You have a week to live. Wow. Then what happens? Ask yourself the questions. Are you still going to complain about the same things you've been complaining about? Are you still going to hold the same grudges that you've been holding? Are you still going to look at life that you need to do things instead of you want to do them? Are you still going to have to do things instead of get to do them? You see, death's not morbid. It can be our greatest teacher. And I think it's wise to consider what life would be like if death were staring us squarely in the face. And the great thing about embracing these deep truths, no one's asking you to change your life. You're simply being invited to change the way you're living your life. So let's think about a simple example of that. You've walked outside thousands of times in your life, right? And it is my wish for all of you that you walk out of your house or outside thousands more times in your life. But here's the real question. Each of those times you walked outside, how many have you truly appreciated the opportunity to have gotten to do that? How many times when you've walked outside have you been truly grateful for the opportunity to be able to do that? Because as you and I are sitting here having this discussion, there are people somewhere in our country, hundreds, maybe even thousands, who've just been told that they only have a week to live. And so what do? They look at their doctor and they say, I want to go outside for a walk. I want to look up at the sky one last time. And if while they're out there, it starts to rain, they don't want to go back inside. They want to see the rain, and they want to smell it, and they want to feel it, and they may even want to taste it, because those moments are so precious to them. And what happens to us if it starts to rain? We want to go inside, we want to cover up, and we probably start complaining because it's raining. So it's my observation that the reason that so many people fear death is because they've projected themselves so far out into the future that they can't live life here and now. You see, we have to understand that our attempts to get special experiences from life actually keep us from the experience of life. Our busyness to seek something outside of us keeps us from getting all of the goodness that's happening right here and now in our lives. What's an example of this? Well, think about when you get in a vehicle to go from here to there. What do you see? Probably nothing. And why is that? Well, it's because many of us are on a cell phone. We're thinking about what we have to go do next, or we're thinking about yesterday, or next week, or next month, or possibly even next year. And that means we're not living our life. That means we're living in our mind. And I'm a big fan of mindfulness, but I'll tell you the biggest barrier to being present in our life is a full mind. So we have to be willing to go to those scared parts of ourselves that keep us from living fully. And we have to know that you're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone is going to die at some point. So go say what needs to be said and do what needs to be done, and stop living in fear of what the next moment's going to bring. Because guess what, you guys? The only moment we're guaranteed is the one we're in right here, right now. Think of it like this. Life is really our vocation, and our interaction with it is one of the most important relationships that we're going to have. And true meaning in life comes from being willing to live it fully. It's not some special event that you go to. It's your willingness to experience that event fully that brings meaning into your lives. So living life fully is allowing to let each moment fill you completely. Let life touch you deeply. There's not a moment that can't provide this for you. There's a tenet that I practice living my life by, and that is called view every experience as a gift. Even the moments that don't feel so good, allow yourself to fully live in those moments. So here's my invitation to you. Here's my challenge to you. For the rest of the day, the rest of the week, maybe even periodically throughout the rest of your life, ask yourself the question, live in the question, what if? What if I only had a week to live? And then start to notice, do you have different conversations with yourself and others? Are you treating your loved ones better? Are you having better thoughts? Are you noticing that you're more present in your life? I sure hope so. Because you know what? Don't be afraid of death. Embrace it. Let it be your friend. Allow it to be that reminder to you to live life fully. Fully embrace each experience that life is putting before you. Appreciate every single moment you have. In other words, I want you to live the shit out of life. And so in the comments below, I want you to share with me your thoughts about this conversation that we just had. And I also want you to give me topics of other conversations that you would like to have in the future. And until I see you again next week, I want you to continue to ask yourself, what if? What if I only had a week to live? And let your answer be such that you will live the shit out of life. Okay? I'll talk to you real soon. Take good care. Bye-bye.